that it was okay. I used to watch this perfect couple. They were the embodiment of true love.
Do you know Megan Hipwell? She's gone missing. You were seen in the area that night.
I went to visit my husband.
You mean your ex-husband?
I need you to stay away.
Tell me the truth. What happened that night?
Stay happy with up to 8.5% savings off every electricity and gas bill year after year. Go online now.
Well, who stole the cookie from the cookie jar? Number one stole the cookie from the cookie jar. Not me stole the cookie from the cookie jar.
Kinder Pingui is the cool, yummy snack you'll enjoy straight from the fridge. With a creamy, milky filling covered in chocolate and sponge. Kinder Pingui, cool after school.
Okay, a question for you. Have you been on the surface of the moon recently? Or have you got what it takes to be the bridge of doom? What about being a nice, safe nest for an endangered species? And when was the last time you battled a dragon? Or found yourself in shark-infested waters? Kinder Surprise, a treat for the imagination.
Jerry Meehan lives in New York, but grew up in Tubbercurry in Sligo with his adoptive parents and sister.
They were very different. My parents were very different. My mother was very businesslike, and she tried to teach me some of the business side of things, and I enjoyed that. My dad was more into his farm, and I wasn't into that. They were both equally lovable, yeah.
His earliest memory of adoption being mentioned was on his first day of school. His mother gave him this advice at the classroom door.
When you go in here, because you're adopted, they might be teasing you. And she told me, she said, if they laugh at you, laugh with them, and then they won't know what to do. And she was actually right, because I did do that, and they didn't know what to do. It was okay. But that was the only time I ever remember adoption being mentioned until I was maybe 16 and going out with girls. And she did say to me one night, like, you know, you are smart enough to be careful because, you know, you're adopted and people will expect better of you because they'll think you'll fail.
As he grew up, Jerry often thought about his natural mother, what had happened, and where she might be now.
I thought of her as somebody who had tried to keep me and couldn't afford to, and left me at an orphanage and went to America. And from there on, I pictured her as somebody who had come over here and done really well for herself and was going to come back for me any day now. While my parents were really, really good and really nice to me, I mean, I clearly knew I wasn't their biological son. And it was a big problem. It was very hard to deal with that. Not that I wasn't their son, that would have been okay, but the fact that I was somebody's son and I didn't know who.
At 17, Jerry went to the General Register office to get his original birth certificate, which would show his mother's name. He was told he couldn't have it because he was adopted.
And I remember walking out devastated, absolutely devastated, because this woman behind this counter is able to deny me my birth cert. And that really, really hurt me. Made me feel less than everybody else. So little would be the best way to describe it, that I tried to blank it completely out of my head that I was adopted.
A few years later, Jerry left Sligo and went to New York to look for work and a different life.
I was fortunate because I was into the motorbikes, and the boss on that particular job also was into racing motorbikes. So we got talking. He was a carpenter. I started to learn the trade. The money was reasonably good. And then in the evening times, you know, the parties in Woodside, every evening was a party.
Jerry met Deirdre, also from Sligo, and within a year they were married. Not having a blood relative he knew of still played on his mind, and he thought the arrival of baby Oisín would change that.
It was almost indescribable. Apart from the fact that you have a son born, the fact that this is now a blood relative. And the first one, the only one I know. After a few days, it was like, yeah, he looks like you, yeah? And the more people that said that, the happier I was. And as he got a little bit older, I could see it. And I had thought when he was born, this will solve it. I won't think about it anymore. It will just go away now because I have a blood relative. But it didn't. It made it worse.
Jerry still only had a handful of documents from the time of his adoption, so a few years ago, he and Deirdre returned to Ireland to search through the records in the General Register Office for his original birth certificate.
Unbelievably, by the end of that day, I actually had my birth cert. And I was excited and still nervous looking at it, and certainly surprised I did not expect to get it so fast. I thought this may take me a few years. She became a real person. It's probably the best thing I could say. She was no longer a fantasy or a distant thought or anything like that. She was now real and close. Things were just, up and up and up. I don't think it could get much higher. I said to Deirdre, tomorrow I would like to take a drive to the town, past my mum's house. Not to stop and go up and knock on the door or anything like that. I wouldn't do that. But just to drive past it. I thought, perhaps if I'm driving by, or if I stop a bit of ways, maybe she'll come out. For all my life, she was like, so far away. And now she was going to be so close. Unfortunately, I came across a death notice. Perhaps that was the worst moment of my life. I had gone in a couple of days from among the best moments of my life to the very worst.
Devastated that he would never get to meet his natural mother, Jerry and Deirdre went back to New York the next day. He kept thinking about the children named on his mother's death notice, who were his half-siblings. He found them on Facebook and, with great trepidation, sent them a very carefully worded private message. 2 of his sisters responded.
They didn't know anything about me at all. I was at work, it was a Friday, and I was very excited and anxious and worried because now I had 2 sisters going through my Facebook page, and I was concerned. What will they see? What will they think of me? Will they like me? Will they hate me? Will they say he's an idiot? I didn't know. I phoned my wife and she said, perhaps you should come home, because she could hear my voice, how excited I was and nervous I was. And working with electric saws, not a good idea. I got a finger up. There's a construction site, all construction workers, and we were getting onto the elevator to leave the building when I got another text message from the second sister, and in it she called me her big brother. I started crying, and I was just about to walk onto the elevator, and all these guys were on, and I was like, oh my goodness. So I had to lower my head and pull my hood up so they wouldn't see me crying. I was like, I was embarrassed, but I was delighted.
Jerry's half-siblings were shocked but very keen to talk to him. He decided the best thing was to come to Ireland and meet up with them.
I booked into a hotel in Dublin and sent the booking information to one sister thinking they may come and meet me for dinner and we could all talk. But in fact, they all booked into the hotel for the weekend, all 5 of them. On the Monday I went to my friend because I was still staying in Ireland for the week. So then I was talking to my sister on the phone. So she said, well, why don't you come here and stay with me? I was like, of course. I was nearly on the train before she got off the phone. So I did. And now things were just getting closer and closer and closer.
As well as his half-siblings, Jerry met older relatives who could tell him more about his mother and what she was like as a young woman.
She had been in a mothers and babies home. It's unfortunate for her that she was confined there. I was adopted at 18 months. But for me, I was happy that I got to spend that much time with her, even though I don't remember it. She was a young girl. So that's kind of the girl I wanted to find out about. The one that was there with me.
Jerry was in touch with his half-siblings for over a year, but their father didn't know that. One of Jerry's sisters decided to tell him and got a reaction none of them expected.
If they're keeping me hidden from him, I'm feeling ashamed about this. And I didn't want to feel ashamed because I hadn't done anything wrong. Except being born. He now came to her and said that there was actually another boy that had been put up for adoption. And it was a few years after me, and in this case, he was the dad.
With this bombshell, Jerry wanted more than ever to be regarded as one of the family, so he advised his sister on what she needed to do to track down their brother, based on his own search to find them.
She was at the door of the GRO and phoned me before going in to go over it one more time. And I told her what I knew, and she said, okay, and hung up, I'm going in. And since probably a minute later, she phoned me back. And I was like, what? She said, you won't believe it. My dad has just received a letter in the post today from our other brother. This changed everything.
Jerry met and bonded with his new half-brother, but he still felt like an outsider. Then a family event took place without him.
That really hurt me. A lot. Enough to decide I don't want any more. I couldn't face another hurt that big. So I withdrew.
This break allowed Jerry to take stock. He realised he had neglected his own family as he got to know his new one.
I haven't involved them enough. It was another mistake I made. It's been an awful lot on them. All these people and the lack of attention from me, totally concentrated on other people. There are times when I certainly have been times when I've thought I wouldn't do the search at all. But then again, you need to know who you are.
Jerry is back in touch with some of his siblings, and they've all had time to reflect on what happened.
As time went on, I got to understand how other people could feel hurt. Initially, I thought, how could anyone feel anything except me? This is all about me. Of course it was not, but I thought it was. I couldn't see things from their position. And how could I? I was adopted. Any more than they could see things from my position. I wouldn't demand to be part of their family or act like I should be part of their family. Because I'm not. But we are getting close. Not because we have to be. Because we want to.
Jerry found his blood relatives, but it was his mother he had really wanted to meet.
I don't feel like, I'm 53. I feel like I'm more 5. I will always want her, and I will always miss her. And it's even more difficult to deal with when you never actually got the chance to even say goodbye. Never mind say hello. So yeah, that doesn't go away. You'll always be Mummy's little boy.